It is mock draft time. Fantasy MLR drafts are just around the corner with the 2025 season just over 2 weeks away. It's time to get you ready for who you're going to pick when you get on the clock. Plus, we break down the latest news and notes from around the league, plus much more. The Fantasy Ruckers Show starts right now.
Where rugby and the world of fantasy sports collide. Welcome to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, talking all things rugby from the MLR to leagues around the world. We're on top of it. Headphones on, pads off. This is the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Now, here are your hosts, Ryan Yee, Matt Yee, and Devin Vanderpool.
What's up, everybody? This is episode 139 of the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Thank you so much to our Fantasy Ruckers League members, our community members, and everyone else tagging along on this journey of making fantasy rugby a reality in the MLR. With you each and every single week, Matt Yee, Devin, Vandy, Vanderpool. I am Ryan Yee, and Vandy is back after what we were calling Laptop Gate. Had some technical difficulties. We talked about it a couple
technical difficulties.
Yeah, Vandy, why don't you tell us where you've been, man, over the past couple weeks? The people have missed you.
Something spilled something on my laptop. I went to turn it on, sent Ryan and Matt a little video of it completely encased in some liquid.
Something peed on Vandy's laptop.
And I went down the whole rabbit hole. I was investigating. I was looking at the splash pattern and how it pooled on the laptop.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Dexter.
Yeah, it was pretty clear, like that. It came from this way.
But
looked like a spill.
Any final findings?
No, but I'm gonna beat somebody's.
Well, anyways, we are happy to have you back, Vandy. Been a couple weeks, obviously. You provide so much life into this show, so it's good to have you back. And in case you didn't know, Vandy, in case you missed it over the past couple of weeks, Fantasy MLR is just around the corner. We're just over 2 weeks away from the start of the 2025 Major League Rugby season. Man, I'm getting fired up. Maddie and I spent the last couple episodes breaking down the top fives of each position. So, Vandy, we're going to get you here caught up because, like we said at the top of the show, it's mock draft time, baby. Our favorite time of the year where we're going to go through and put our rankings to the test on what we will do in these situations when draft time does come up in about a week's time, which we'll get into here in a little bit for all of our league members. But hey, nothing better than getting ready and getting your drafting chops warmed up with some mock drafting.
It's a must.
Yeah.
It's a must.
It is a must. You got to do the mock draft. You got to go through it. If you're not going through it in real life, you at least get to watch us go through it.
Right. You don't want to show up to a job interview and don't know what company you're working for, okay?
There you go.
That's perfect analogy. Way to go, Randy.
So yes, a jam-packed show for you guys. We got obviously that mock draft like we talked about. We have a little bit of news to get over and catch up on and react to that happened over the course of the past week. Got a little bit of an update for all of our league members. Got a few new ones who have joined the mix, which is a lot of fun. Get them all up to date with all that. Talk a little bit about some maybe TFR betting challenge. Towards the tail end of the show, we got some fun rugby that's going to start sparking up some betting interest this upcoming weekend that will get us, I think, also warmed up for the start of the MLR season. And hey, maybe even talk a little bit of Oval E with the Oval Yees and Vandy. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff to get to in this episode. Going to be a good one. In case you're brand new to the podcast and to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, Matt, Devin, myself have been making Fantasy MLR a reality for the past several years. I've been trying to, and it's been a fun ride. Maddie has been a longtime rugby player. Myself has the rugby experience as well, and Vandy's our in-house fantasy expert who has used fantasy sports to learn this brand new thing that is called rugby, and is kind of the representative of all those out there that are interested in maybe learning more about rugby and can use fantasy MLR as something that can help them with that. Just a way for us to grow this game. It's been a fun ride. Vandy, we mentioned it last episode. I think we call you almost an expert now when it comes to Major League Rugby.
You know what? I don't like spreading misinformation and fake news, so I will
Oh,
refrain from
that's not
saying
true.
anything like that.
That's not true. We're just letting anyone be experts these days, aren't we?
That's right. That's right. You just need a Twitter profile and you're an expert.
So
There
you
you
can pay
go. I
for a
mean,
blue check
that's
mark in your
Like all
phone.
these people that know like flags and rules and stuff.
yeah, all that good stuff. All right. Well, hey, let's get right into the show and we'll start off with some news. But first, if you aren't already, follow us at the Fantasy Ruckers social handles up above. We got all the good stuff on there in terms of content that you can check out in terms of rankings, in terms of links to all the good stuff as well. If you haven't already, subscribe to this podcast wherever you get podcasts down below in the description. You can hit us up, leave a comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've surpassed the 100 subscribers after 4 seasons into this. We want to keep it going. Our Discord community is growing, boys, with some of the new
Whoa!
members that have been joining. It's been a lot of fun to see kind of people get back into the mix. It's been getting hot with some of the conversations that have been happening in the leagues. It's quite exciting here as we tiptoe closer to the fantasy MLR season. And also, you'll want to check out the fantasyruckers.com as well, the official platform for fantasy MLR for us here on the Fantasy Ruckers Show. That's where all of our league members will be playing fantasy MLR in 2025. All right, you guys ready to get into it?
Yes, sir.
News dump.
All right, it is the time for the Fantasy Ruckers News Dump, where we go over the latest news and notes from around the league that has happened over the course of the past week. It seems like, guys, we don't have that many more
Because they're
signings
busy
happening
training. They're
because
already
they're busy
training.
training. That is true. We obviously last week had the big announcement of Vandy, your favorite player in the entire league, Joel Hodgson, returning to the Utah Warriors. I don't know how worried you were getting
I'm
in
pretty
terms
worried.
of having him come back, but that is official. We also got finally the full Anthem Rugby
Who
Carolina
cares?
roster that was released as well. But it does feel like we do have most of the players finalized and who will be competing up here in 2025. So no roster moves to catch up on this week, but we did have a big match that happened last week. Our very first preseason match of 2025. It happened right after the recording of our podcast last week, and that is RFC LA taking on Fijian Drua, the Super Rugby Pacific side down in Fiji. And obviously, one of the biggest matches in the history of the MLR, despite it being a preseason match, the first time the MLR has gone head to head with a Super Rugby team. And it ended up being pretty exciting, and it was a lot closer than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. The score finishes off as a 33-26 win for Fiji and Drua, but for a large portion of the game, RFCLA hanging right in there. It wasn't until a late try in the 75th minute that got Fiji over the board. But either way, RFCLA hangs within 7 points with a Super Rugby side. Maddie, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, look, Fiji were making quite a lot of mistakes, and they had times where they were just purely dominant. But I think RFCLA held their own, and they had their own times of dominance as well. I thought they looked good defensively as well at times too. It's encouraging for us to see that, an MLR side, a side that didn't even do that well last year, is able to kind of stick with the likes of Fiji and Drew. Both sides were playing development players.
Mhm.
Both sides were playing kind of different types of lineups. But yeah, it was encouraging. It was good to see. I think it really showed us that hey, RCLA is going to be a team to mess with this year. A couple notes I put just fantasy relevance wise that I think people are going to want to know. One, I think Ben Sugar's Ryan seems like the starter. I thought he had a
Mhm.
good game. He looked good. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be the starter there, and I think everybody going into the draft should kind of look at it that way. We'll see in the upcoming game against the San Diego Legion for the preseason.
If I
But
recall correctly, someone was saying that my number two ranking was not so good with Ben
well,
Sugars up
hey,
there.
he's the starter. Is he going to be number two? That's still another thing to tell. But Tranu, I thought also looked really well. He
hmm
played a lot
hmm
of minutes. Tad Smith also came in. Yes, he actually scored a try too. But I think Petrano thinks he's going to be starter. It looks like there's still some kind of rust to kick off just with the team and offensively entirely. Looked a little slow. They could definitely have a higher pace of play, but hey, it's preseason. And a couple concerns for me. Vogan
hmm
Isaacs, Rory Van Voot looked very good in this
hmm
game. I don't even know how much time Vogan Isaacs actually got on. I didn't watch the entire game. They don't have the replay up, and Fijian Drew's YouTube page only shows the Fijian try. So, yeah, I'm not sure how much time he had. I think Roy Van Voot had a really good start to the game. The other one is this whole Billy Meeks at 10. We're
Mm-hmm.
seeing him back
Mm-hmm.
at 10 again. A little concerning. I don't think it was planned for or intended just based on the number on his back that he had coming off the bench, which was 12. I think Leo Lafano is kind of getting a bit beat up at the start by this Fijian team, and maybe it was just that was they wanted to switch it in. But yeah, that was a little bit weird. Interested to see how that goes. Honestly, my stock for Leo Lafano kind of goes down now though after that game.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think for me, I think the biggest thing, jokes aside, obviously we only can take so much from a preseason game. Obviously it can quickly change. Obviously we saw Ben Sugars score that early try within 2 minutes of the game, but either way, we could see that flip on a dime in terms of that. But encouraging to see if you were on the Ben Sugars side of things. But yes, it was good to see Gonzalo Betranu. It was good to see Christian Lealifano again early in the season. I think any precaution they're going to take, especially for a guy like Lealifano, who has obviously a lot of experience and does not necessarily need the preseason minutes, they're going to be cautious on that. But I do agree with you, Matt. It is concerning though that I don't know. I don't know what Sam Harris is hard on for having Billy Meeks at the 10 position. Obviously, remember what he did with him on Chicago. Sam Harris is now with RFCLA as their attacks coach. I'm not too sure what the situation is there when it comes to that because when you pull it up, it's not like you know Billy Meeks is the only guy that can come in there and replace Leah Lifanu. They also have Matt Antichev, who has time at fly half as well. So the fact that they're pivoting to Billy Meeks first has me concerned in that situation. But I guess we'll see. Again, take it with a grain of salt. It is preseason, but not necessarily something that fantasy managers necessarily like to see from a Christian Lealifanu standpoint. I guess both you and I, Maddie, were quite high in our top five for Billy Meeks from a center position and from an overall position. I guess quickly here before we move on, do you think that this has any indication that maybe he doesn't reach that ceiling if fly half at times is in the cards for Billy Meeks?
Nah, I think we'll be okay.
Okay. All right. He did take a kick. So, I mean, he does have that ability there, too. I think 1 for 1 there for Billy Meeks, which is interesting there. All right. Again, 33-26 win for Fiji and Drua. Vandy, in case you need to know, it was a big, big, big milestone and monumental thing for a MLR team to get the chance to play a Super Rugby side. So it was fun stuff there. Just a couple notes here to wrap up kind of our preseason coverage. Got some games coming up here for preseason that teams will play over the course of the next week. We got the first one coming up between Houston and NOLA on February 1st. Houston will then take on Chicago on February 8th. And then on the Seattle side of things, Seattle Seawolves will take on Seattle Rugby on February 7th. Those are all the confirmed preseason matches. I imagine there's other ones that either have not yet been announced or are there, just people don't know about them yet. They should come around the corner here. But again, all the signings done. Preseason is here, which means the fantasy MLR season, the regular season, is even closer. And it's time to, I guess, to talk about maybe some of that fantasy MLR stuff here on what people need to know ahead of the start of that fantasy season.
Thought you
Play.
were trying to let people know, but
I thought that's where we were headed. Okay.
yeah, yeah, I thought that's where we were going. We were trying to give updates on the fantasy season from the old whatever commissioner.
All right, hear ye, hear ye. Here is Supreme Commissioner Yee with a Fantasy Ruckers League update. There you go.
There it is.
There it is. Really cool to see. I mean, the outpouring of interest and registration into the upcoming season is really, really exciting. We are up to 5 leagues this year here coming into
Let's
this
go.
fantasy MLR season, which is awesome to see. We have the introduction of both paid and free leagues, so a little bit of money on the lines for some of these leagues, which is exciting to see. But yeah, I mean, at this point, most of registration is done. League are being finalized. If you want to squeeze in, don't hesitate to sign up on that registration form. form. We'll see if we can squeeze you in. But I will say the time is dwindling down. Leagues are being set, and commissioners, my commissioner minions, are out there
Yep.
finalizing their draft starts for the upcoming year, which is really fun to hear. A lot of those drafts will be beginning February 3rd. So next week is when things will
Whoa.
start to be rolling in for those drafts, which is exciting, which is why we need to get this mock draft episode in. Yeah, it's really really exciting stuff. A lot of returning people. Of course, we have new people as well. People even having the interest to participate in double leagues, to both get
Big
a
time.
taste of a paid league and a free league in there as well. So things are rolling. If you are signed up, most of you guys are. You're on our Discord already. Make sure you check out those league chat channels. I know that a lot of the commissioners have already begun their processes when it comes to getting things rolling for the upcoming season, and they'll have all the information there for you. A couple though news and notes for the upcoming season though when it comes to fantasy leagues. A big announcement here. Obviously, it's something that we've been dabbling for a long time in terms of how we're going to manage these midweek Tuesday, Wednesday games that are happening. It's a little bit unconventional, especially from a fantasy sense. I'd be lying if I was saying that this was causing me a headache when it comes to any of that stuff and all that trying to figure out how to get the leagues and things like that there. But that's what we have to deal with and what we've decided on. That's going to make both from a commissioner standpoint of things easier and even from a website analytics part better as well. We're actually going to not count the midweek game. So any Tuesday or Wednesday game will not fall into the fantasy MLR space. That does not mean we're not going to be counting the tallying the stats so that we have that as a reference point on our website. But when it comes to your matchups, those midweek games will not count. So that means when you're drafting players, take that into account. There are a select handful of teams that have these midweek games, and you're just going to have to plan accordingly. AKP and myself have chatted about it and have come to the resolution that league managers just got to treat it like it's another buy. Certain teams and certain players are going to have advantages and disadvantages, but hey, it just adds some strategy to the mix.
There you go. There you go.
Oof. Oh, I don't know how that's gonna look, but hey, just another
I
way to
mean, you're
make
kind of
fantasy
handcuffed,
fantasy.
irregardless, handcuffed.
Yeah, you got to do something. You got to do something. I respect you for making that decision,
You
Ryan.
know what, Ryan? It's a tough call.
It is a tough call. I
It's a
mean,
tough
we
call. I'm sure it's not one
we
that comes with easy resolution, but I think it's kind of one you're dealt with. You gotta play with the hand you got, and something we can work on in the future. But with such short notice and everything,
I mean, not even that, right? Like we've been working on this for like months. Like we've been trying to figure out a way to see how we can manage this. Um, the biggest thing for me as commissioner is to come up with a way that is just a blanket, consistent statement that applies to everyone. There's no exceptions. There's no, oh, if this happens, then this is it, and these
yeah,
strange rules that causes confusion. Like that's the biggest thing that I don't want. I don't want confusion in there,
yeah,
where there's a hypothetical rule that kind of works. So there was thoughts about, if you have a player you select, because some teams have two matches in 1 week. You say, okay, you select one match of the week that player will count towards. But then it just goes down the rabbit hole of, okay, how do you implement that in the website? How do you police that, things like that. It gets a little bit so convoluted that I thought just, a blanket statement. Hey, if it's a match that's on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday, it doesn't count.
yeah.
Just play accordingly. It's the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday matches that will count towards the fantasy stats here.
And there are
So
gonna be some
play that.
bombers. Your guy's gonna pop off. We're gonna hear about it. We get it.
Oh
We're
yeah.
sorry. It's gonna happen to us too. Don't worry.
Yep.
Yep.
Plan that accordingly. All right. Secondly, here, some exciting additions to our main league. Not going to announce who
Whoa.
yet, but stay tuned though. We got some fun rugby MLR community members that are pretty prominent that will be joining the fantasy MLR space, which is
JBL.
really fun to hear. So we'll see whether or not we have that. And then lastly, We got a draft kit coming out. A nice little transition to the mock draft that we're gonna have here. We will be using this draft kit here as we do these mock drafts, and it has everything from the small details that you want to know, where a player's from, the international caps that they have, of course, the past fantasy stats that they have, to even projections, analytics that our analytics team, headed by Nick Johnson, has been working all off season for. That will have there too to give you a reference point on how these new situations, how past performances will bake into what the numbers project and predict these players are going to do. So when you bake that all in, you have a number. I see you making funny faces there, Matt. What's the funny faces?
Just saying, hey, we try to project the MLR for a lot, and that's when Ed Fido ends up from 1 to 0. But hey, we'll
Yeah.
see.
No,
I'm
this is
sure we
Matt.
we haven't
Matt,
gone with the numbers though.
that's what I'm saying. You do the predicting, you don't do the projecting. The projections are different here, and I will say I've seen the database that Nick has been working on in terms of the numbers and stats and big words, Maddie, that you don't necessarily know how to pronounce. In terms
Mm,
of extrapolation,
mm.
in terms of all this good
Stripawashing,
stuff. Um,
Extrapolate who?
Strapalutin.
that's going to all be on there. So if you are interested in purchasing a draft kit, reach out to us. It is going to be available for you ahead of your draft. Spent a lot of hours and a lot of time into sorting out all this data. That would be available to all of you out there. That is in coordination of the projections that we are actually going to have on our website that is free for everyone from a match to match basis. Obviously, that's a big part of fantasy MLR, or I should say fantasy sports in general. Is to have those projections and predict whether or not you are going to beat or how you're going to fare against your opponent. So yeah, check in. We'll have all that information coming out. If you're interested in one of these draft kits, again, all the proceeds support what we are doing here at the Fantasy Ruckers to continue making it better and getting closer to that mission of making fantasy MLR a reality. All right. I guess with that being said, we got our draft kits loaded up and ready to go. You guys ready to do some mocking?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's
Knock
get
it
into it.
up.
Preseason warm up.
All right. Well, we have our preseason warm up. We had the rankings of our favorite backs last week. The week before that had the rankings of the best forwards. We now put that all to the test. Use these draft kits that we've put together and we'll be releasing to the people and start doing this mock draft. The way this is going to work, guys, is that obviously all three of us are going to rotate in terms of the picks. And we are going to do 5 rounds of an 8-team draft. So majority of our leagues are 8-team leagues. So that's what we'll do. And I think it'll provide a reference point for all of our listeners out there in terms of how their thought process should go when the draft clock gets on to them. So I'm going to randomize. We don't know the order that we are going yet. I thought it'd be fun to do that live on this show. I'm going to randomize the order, and that will determine who we are going in. And it looks like Matt, you have the number
Let's
one pick to
go.
start off. So
Peter.
we're gonna rotate here. We'll go Matt, myself, then Vandy, and we will
Wow.
continue to go through that based on each
It's
pick. So
rigged.
Matt, you are on the clock. You got pick 1 overall of an 8-team league. Lot of obviously options. You let me
Well,
know
there's
when
only
you
one
know who you're
option.
going with.
Only one option. It's Semi Kunatani. He's got to go number
I
Oh,
one.
son of a gun. I knew it.
okay, which is interesting to see. So Semi Kunatani goes off the board first. You got back row one
I did
last
not.
year, 214.5 fantasy points on the season. Does not finish off as the highest scoring player, but does, however, finish off as the highest scoring back row player. He was behind Michael Manson and Tarangatira Waitokia. Maddie, in your top 5 rankings of players overall, you did have Devon Rousseau as your number 1 player. Why
Yep.
Semi Kunatani over Devon Rousseau?
You know what? I just think that there's an opportunity to have a guy who is maybe not going to score the most amount of points,
Right.
but he's going to be the guy that is ahead of Bouchel. You will always have the advantage in the back row position. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
if you have the number 1 pick, you have that luxury to be able to do that. And you're going to get guys in that back three position. You're going to get guys in the center position once that clock comes back around, even though you're at the first pick and waiting another 15 picks for you to come up. You're going to have options. I think we're really deep at back three. We're really deep in the center position this year. So I think you got to go with the guy who is just head and shoulders above the rest of the position group, and that is Semi Kunatani.
And that's what's interesting, right? Is obviously there's a decision mix between, you know, overall players, best overall versus positional need. You mentioned it there, Matt, like back three, it seems to be deep. The threshold between having the first versus the second back three player doesn't necessarily seem to be that large, or doesn't seem to be that large for the back three position, as in for the back row position. So
Yeah.
interesting enough. I guess that leads to me on the clock here. I really didn't think Semi Konatani was going to go first of all. I was
Oh,
hoping that he was going to fall to me here at number
uh,
two. So that leads me to try to stall here and figure out
Yeah.
where I am going to go.
I mean, look,
Um,
here's while you're stalling, I got it like center and back to Ryan. Last week we're debating on like the eighth and ninth and tenth honorable mention of whether they make it into top five, and we could all see them. So you can obviously see that there's so much depth, especially in that back three position.
yeah, no, I agree with you. All right. I guess sticking with that theme on the clock here, got the pressure, got the clock ticking down. I think, oh man, this is it's biting me in the bum because like sometimes like some of these players that I had lower on my list. You know what? I am going to go Jason
No,
Potros
you son of
at
a.
the number two pick. So kind of sticking with that same same thought process. Obviously, Vandy had a thought there that maybe he'd go in that sense. I think it's hard to pass up on Jason Potros here. I was thinking about maybe going another way, but I think having the fly half, who is the undisputable number one fly half on what is the number one team heading into the season as of right now, the back-to-back MLR Shield champions, Jason Potros is who I got. All right, Vandy, you're on the clock here. Does that make it tough for you? I
You
saw
know
your
what?
reaction.
I'm a sucker for consistency. I've always been a big number 10 guy. I think a fly half is just is such a nice, consistent. If you can get one of the good guys, it's huge. That's why I wanted Patros. But you know what? It just made me open my eyes and realize how much better Utah is going to be this year. And you know what? With the news
Wow.
recently, I have to say that the only difference in those two players between the one I'm going to say and Jason Patros was 10 points. And Utah barely won any games. So I'm going to pick my boy, Joel Hodgson, who
Joel.
Let's
will
go.
end higher than Jason Patros. I'm not saying number
Okay.
one, but he will finish higher than Patros.
Do you want to book it bet that? We already have one book it bets on the list. What
I'm
what
not
was my book it
okay.
bets?
I'll book it on that. He will finish
You're
higher
supposed
than.
to write these down.
I am supposed to write these down. I am supposed to
The
write these
heck
down.
is
All right, I got
this?
to go back to the episode.
The
But
heck
all
is
right,
this?
Vandy's book it betting on this here. Book it bets. Joel Hodgson finishes higher than Jason Buttrose. All right, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So Joel Hodgson off the board at number three. So we got two fly halves off the board after the back row player. I guess Maddie, how likely do you think that this situation goes off? Do you think that this is how the
I
meta
could
is going
see
to
it.
start to
I
play out?
mean, hey, we did a mock draft last year, and it was exactly opposite
It
of
was.
how it actually went in our league. So I don't know, but I think if this like this is definitely a possibility. Here's what I think, and this is not the way that I'm going to go, but I think once you see two tens off the board, to me there are four tens in this draft that can be head and above the rest of everybody else.
Hmm.
Potros, Leo Lafanu, Tim Swiel, Joel Hodgson. Is there going to be a panic now? Are we going to see a panic from fantasy managers to say I got to get my hands on one of those tens? Um, and I will tell them, stay calm, everybody.
Yes, take a
You're
10.
okay. You're okay. There's a bunch of other guys that I think are going to score points in that 10 position just because you don't have the top four. That is fine. And that is why with this fourth pick, I'm going to go with Devon Rousseau.
Okay. Now, do you find now he is, and he's my top ranked player heading into this season. Do you think getting him at 4 is a steal? Are we going to look back at this and the fact that you're able to get away with Devon Rousseau at the fourth pick is something that that people are going to be shaking their head at here in reflection of the 2025 season?
I think so, but I can see him going at 4 in a lot of drafts because people are trying to fill high, I guess, the positions that have kind of a guy at the top, you know?
Let me list Devon Rousseau's last 7 matches in the MLR.
Sure.
19.4,
Yep.
19.4,
Yep.
9.7, 21, 15.1, 10.7, then finishes off the fantasy year with
Yeah,
30.1.
he's
So,
sick.
Woo.
um, I think again, I think a lot of it goes into the conversation of the discrepancy between having a top tier fly half and having a top tier back row versus the back three player. Maybe the second back three player is not as great, or I should say the second back three players. The space between that is not as vast as what the top fly halves or back row players are. But I don't know. For me, it just feels like Devon Rousseau at 4 is such a steal there, going that. But nonetheless, though, we'll see here. It is my pick next, and it this one's a tough one. This one's a tough one. Um, Partly because I am scared of what I saw in the Fiji and Drua
I don't
match
think you
against
should be.
LA. Um, my heart is telling me that I should be going Billy Meeks here. And I think that's
What
what
your
I'm going
pants
to
tell you.
do. I'm gonna say Billy Meeks goes here at the 5 spot. And again, this is not necessarily an order of the rankings. This is just what we would do if I was team 5 in this spot here. And I think, you know, take the top tier or who you think the top tier center is going to be.
Ain't nothing
The
wrong with
center is
that.
such a important position. So Billy Meeks off the board at number 5. It
Candidly,
worries
that's
me. It concerns me, man. I am scared that Billy Meeks had anything to do with that 10 position on. We saw it. We saw
they
how
have,
bad it
yeah,
was
yeah. The Hounds
in
did not have
Chicago.
Leo Lafanu though. So
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. All right, Vandy, you're up at the 6th spot. So far we got Kunatani, Putros, Hodgson, Rousseau, Meeks in going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got the 6th spot here. Um, Yeah, interesting enough. It's funny that you mentioned that, Maddie, because last year, what I think the first fly half off the board was not till the tail end of the first round in most drafts, and that was Joel Hodgson coming off the
Yeah.
board um, last season. So the fact that here in our mock draft we have 2 of them going up in the first 5 picks is pretty interesting. I think we always talk about the swaying in biases here. And I think this past season people knew just how successful having or how good it was and how awesome it felt every week to have a guy like Putros on your team that you could just lock in, put at the kicker position and see what he does. It's a lot of fun. Vandy, do you have your number 6 that you'd like to announce?
You know what? With 6, I think he's going to do it again. I think he's have another great year. I'm going to go with Wayne Vanderbank.
oh,
Okay.
I like that.
That's a good pick.
You know
And
what?
I
I
think,
think, like we were saying with him, with New England, they have consistency. They had a lot of those guys stick around, and I think, you know, I don't think he's going to slow down. And he looked, absolute class last year, and I expect the same this year.
yeah, no, it's, and Maddie and I had this conversation last episode, about kind of the confidence in Wayne Vanderbank. Obviously, the injury to LaRue Milan, was something that kind of gave the opportunity for Wayne Vanderbank to really explode and take advantage of, obviously more opportunity. Not to say that Wayne wouldn't have done that, but the opportunity arose for him, and he definitely seized it. And he was one of our steals of our draft last year, for sure. So Wayne Vanderbank off the board. That's 2 centers in a row. Maddie, with the second last pick of the first round, who are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel for this. I got 2 guys that I'm really looking at here. I think at number 7, you might be getting a little antsy here, a little antsy, needing a 10, wanting to get one in the first round late. I think this guy, team number 7, goes for Christian Lealifano.
That's a good pick.
That is a
That's
good
a good
pick.
pick. I think I really do like that. Again, We spent a large part of last episode talking about kind of where he's come from, the pedigree that he has, and if he does even half of that in the MLR on a
Yeah.
team that is
And
as optimistic as Rugby LA, it's gonna be sweet.
but here's the thing. You're at 7. You got the turn. Your next pick is in 3 picks. The chances of a 10 or the big drop off after kind of a Tim Sweel or Lee Lafano or even a Jason Robertson go in the next 3 picks could be fairly high. But if
Yeah.
everybody takes a center in the next 3 picks, you're still sitting pretty because of how deep that center room is. Like you still left with a potentially Dan Creel and Isaac Tutamaki and Ollie Devoto or a Thomas Kubia, all formidable options at the center position.
No, I agree with you, and that's exactly why on this turn, I love having this back end turn.
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
it's a perfect situation. This is the spot that I would choose if I was able to pick where to pick, because I think having the option of kind of getting that 1-2 tandem is really nice. Vandy, I think you had the turnaround last year where you were able to go back to back, and that's why in this one I'm going to start off with getting a fly half. My next pick after these next 2 picks isn't for a long time, and I can see a stretch of fly halves going in. That's why I'm going to lock
Yep.
in that final fourth and final guy that Maddie you mentioned it about, and that's Tim Sweel. He's going to be on Chicago. He's going to be. We've seen him kick from the boot. We have him in our top 5 rankings, and he's a guy that I think is going to succeed in the MLR. And having that pick allows you the freedom to kind of shift into multiple places and kind of see where you want to go with this. And I think there's many different options. What do you want to pair that fly half position in? For me, I think I am going to go with an upside pick. I feel very safe with the way that this team is going to play fast, quick, the way he's done it before. This might be a little bit crazy to think, but I don't think he'll be there back on the turn. I'm going to pick Sam Gala.
Ooh,
Wow.
going
Interesting.
with the second row.
So I
Interesting.
I think
Fair enough.
Sam Gala down season last year, obviously with that big time injury, but we've seen what Sam can do, and I think having him at that position, at that second row position where he scores an upwards of 10 points every single match, is something rare to find in that second row
Yeah.
position, and I think that advantage is huge. Again, I think a big thing to keep in mind with these is that you want to roster construct in a way. I think Tim Sweel is a very safe pick. Go with the boom pick here. Go with Sam Galla. Go with the guy that you think is going to have that. I think other positions, back row, center, back three, there'll be guys there for you. Whether or not there's going to be a Sam Galla or a Frank Lahore that's going to be there back on the turnaround, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And for that
Yeah.
reason, at this 7 pick, you're waiting for a long time. You got kind of a 10 as your staple in the first round. You're gonna go Jonah Moe in the second round, lock up that back row position, get a high quality guy there, fill out the rest later. That's my pick for the 2.2.
I guess I'm up, eh? You know what? Might as well hear what this guy's got to say. Useless information, but might as well hear
You're
it
an
out
expert. Come
nonetheless.
on.
Okay.
You're an expert.
You know what? With Wayne, I think here, if we're taking it very serious, here, you look here, I'd be stressing for a fly half, seeing that many go off the board. You
Yeah.
don't want to get lost there. I mean, now you're kind of looking at the likes of, honestly, it'd be Cliven Laubser, Jason Robertson. Um, which
Eddie Fouché.
the problem with that is there's a lot of good guys up there. Like in the second round, you got names like Volgan Isaacs, and
Yeah.
he's a guy that's staring out at me. Even Andrew Coe. It kind of him and Volgan. I missed out on him last year. Didn't want to do it this
Don't
year,
make
but
that
it's just a
mistake.
mock. So I think here you'd be stressing to get a fly half. I would just go. I would go Clive and Lobster here,
I like it.
Carolina.
That's a good
I
pick.
like
Good
it.
pick. A good
I
pick.
like
Again,
it.
he
I
was
think he's got a lot of upside. I love that
mhm.
pick. I think there, especially if it goes like this, Vandy, to your point, like you're seeing so many tens go off the board. If you're not getting one of these top 7, 8 guys, you
That's
could
a
be stuck in
position
that
when
in
you
that
fall
limbo,
behind,
man.
it is a
Yeah.
nightmare all
Yeah.
season. All
Yeah.
season, you are
Yeah.
dreading that you didn't get one of those guys in the draft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and 9, because then you find yourself starting Holden Younger at home.
Holden Younger, baby.
Oh, we love starting Holden Younger
I did it for six
and his
weeks.
chops. But no, that's a great pick. Fun fact there, Vandy. We mentioned it last episode. Cliven Laubser had the highest points per game on average, just behind Potros. So he was the second highest. The only other one was Potros in points per game basis.
Oh, look
Yeah,
at
once Laubser
that.
came in and took over from Oscar Collar, he was lights out. All right, so I'm with Team Five. Billy Meeks got the center that I needed. I think I'm in the same boat as you, Vandy. I'm gonna go with a safer pick here in terms of getting a guy that I know is going to be uh, the mainstay on that team. I don't know how good this team is going to be, but there's no one else competing for that spot. Jason Robertson, I'm going to take
Nice.
here at the
Kind of have to with how the
turnaround
draft's
here in the
panning out
second round.
here.
Yep. And that's going to
Yeah,
change too. Like, I mean, I think that's what's going to be interesting in a lot of these drafts, which I'm excited to see, is like the picks that happen before, and obviously this happens in every draft, is going to dictate how the flow goes,
Oh
right? Like
yeah.
if people are really high on some of these other guys and maybe fly halves aren't as big of a stressor fact here, then maybe you're going to be able to snag a guy later. That's why there's going to be so much variance from draft to draft. But I think we have the same sentiment. Evander, you put it perfectly there, where if you don't have a fly half, or at least an adequate one, you're kicking yourself all season long. All right, Maddie, number 4 for you.
yeah. I mean, kind of got this team in a handcuff right now. Kind of has to go Santiago Videla at this point. Like you are itching the surface of, hey, I'm gonna run out of tens here
Yeah.
because it's started in this one.
Santiago Videla, other options that you may have had. I know,
Eddie
Maddie, you're
Fouché,
pretty Eddie Fouché. Yeah,
Rodney
that's
Iona, really, if you want
right.
to, but
Yeah. Interesting enough. All right, Vandy, your pick here. You have Joel Hodgson, so your fly half is already locked up. Who are you picking here at your
You know
pick?
what? I was just saying there's a guy who, you know what? This is going to be a little biased, and it's purely just off of the eye test. But there is a
let's
guy I
go.
couldn't stop watching, and it was Vogan Isaacs. That guy with the ball, it was just electric. It was something. Um, it was like the Reese McDonalds of the world, the Michael Mansons. When that man had the ball, it was different. It was a different speed. He found the lanes better. I mean, the kicks. Yeah, no, definitely Vogan there. Especially if
There,
you already
Yeah,
have a 10
truth.
lockdown.
there's going to be two groups when it comes to Vogan Isaacs. Two groups that are sitting on a side after, especially watching that Fiji and Drew game. And Matt, you kind of encompassed it in the breakdown earlier. Do you believe in Vogan Isaacs? If you do, this is the spot that you're going to take him at, right? And it could pay
Yep.
off big because if he locks down that LA offense, becomes the mainstay starter, seeing what he did last year, being a part of an electric offense that we probably predict is going to be very similar to what the Dallas Jackals played. We've talked with Andrew Coe on the show here that they like to play a fast offense. Vogan Isaacs can be a great big benefactor off of that. It just determines whether or not he can break that starting lineup and be a consistent mainstay is what's going to determine whether or not he's worth the draft capital here. But if you like him, this is the spot that you're going to take him. All right, I'm coming up next here. I already have a fly half, Jason Putros in the bag here. Where do we go here to pick? So I got the fly half. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick. I mean, get two guys that have just been as consistent as they come, and then maybe make some fun things afterwards. Dan Creel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick
Wow.
here at the second spot. Again, not a flashy pick, but a real safe pick. And Dan Creel is gonna do Dan Creel things for you. The amount of times that we spoke on this podcast about him was like almost every single episode just because of his consistency. Maddie, you're up next. Semi Kunatani was your pick. You got the back to back.
Yeah, I think here you gotta go. I mean, I love a back row center combo. I'm gonna go Junior Gaffa here for this first pick. That's a kind of an easy one for me. And then on the turn, you know what? You're going all in. Gotta go with Ed Fido. Gotta
Mm,
go with Ed Fido.
Ed
I think
Fita.
starting off the first 3 rounds
what a
with
team.
the
Semi
way that this
Kumatani,
draft
Junior
has gone,
Gafford, feed out.
with the way that this draft has gone, if you start off with a back row center and a back three, I think you're in a really good spot. And at this point, you're kind of just punting that fly half position and just hoping to see who shows up in that next spot that you have.
Yeah, is there a fly half that you'd even consider at this spot, Maddie, or is it just once those top five, like Fuche is kind of that cusp guy.
I
It
mean, yeah,
depends whether or
Foucher's
not
a
you
tough,
debate.
but like I think Foucher is going to be really good. But I mean, I just would much rather spend it here on a back. If I'm in this position, I would much rather just spend it on a center and a back three. And there are guys that you're thinking of that maybe didn't hit our honorable mentions, but are definitely going to be starters on teams. They're going to be worth it. Like guys like Luke Carty is going to be on Nola. Like he's going to reap the rewards of just simply being on a good team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's pretty good stuff. All right. I'm going to have a pick here coming up. We went with the safe option with this team too, who already has Jason Putros and has Dan Creel. So gonna go with the guy that has, I think, a pretty big ceiling here, but also a lot of question marks. Gonna go with Kellen Galatier here at the pick
Whoa.
with Nola. Again, a guy that comes in with that French experience, going to be on a NOLA team that Matthew is very high on. You get that back row position. You now have fly half, back center, back
Hmm.
row. Jason Putros, Dan Curl, Kellen Galatier.
I would have gone with Vandy's guy, I think, at this spot. Or
Vandy's
Dylan
guy.
Nell.
Who's
Dylan Nell.
I was just, you know what? You took the words right out of my mouth. I love that man. That
Team three? Team three is going to be Vandy's team in real life. He's just going to pick all Utah guys. But
Team
Vandy,
three
just
is
say it.
just
Just say it.
Utah.
What do you mean, just Utah guys? I got Vogan in there.
There you go.
No, here, you know what? Like just looking at that structure. I mean, you gotta take somebody. What do you guys think about this Jed Holloway?
I'm pretty high on him. I think he's
You
a
know, as a
second
second
rower.
row, the
He's a
position
second
doesn't
rower.
offer a ton of points.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he's he's
Don't even.
athletic. He's athletic enough to be in the back row. So you might end up with a guy very similar to Frank Lahore.
okay. Oh, okay. So I got a
But
question for you. I got a
yeah,
question. Would you go like if you let's say this was your pick, would you go like Sam Tuifua or would you take on Jed Holloway?
I'm staying away from Tuifua. I personally am a bigger fan of Dylan Nell over both of those guys at this pick.
Hey man, I like the way you talk, buddy.
Can't believe you're talking Jed Holloway over your boy Frank Lahore.
Yeah, I mean, I
Hey,
just he had such a good year. Are we good?
it's a your pick, Vandy. Whatever.
This would be a tough
Because
one
this is
for
your
me.
team. This is team three is your team.
Yeah, this
That
would
is
be a
that is
tough one
that
for
is
me.
this is what it's gonna look like in 2 weeks' time for the Fantasy Ruckers draft. This
You know
team is
what? I'm not a
exactly.
huge. God damn it! Give
This
me
is this is what makes it tough. That's what makes it tough.
gun to my head. Give me Dylan now. I gotta go pee.
Let's
Dylan,
go. I
Dylan
think I
Nell.
think you can't beat the consistency here. Like he gets suspended, yeah, sure. I mean, whatever. He kicked the guy in the head. It is what it is. But the way that he plays is just it's everything that you want to have on your team. It's consistency, it's breakdown steals, it's tackles, it's meters gained, it's all of the above. He's a really nice, comfortable guy to have on your team.
Is it so? I guess the point is, and this is where roster construction comes in, is that you for a team like Team Two, right, where you have the consistency there, right? Like there a world where you can see Kellen Galatier taking over this league and becoming the first back row overall, or even behind Semi Kunatani? Like, are you reaching for a ceiling there that maybe the unknown is enticing, and is that enough for you to kind of go that way, or is that something that you want to keep on with in that situation? If you still have the consistency, still stick with Dylan now.
Dylan now, baby.
I just think Dylan Nell has the opportunity to do both.
Man,
Like
he was electric before
he
he got suspended.
he had double digit points every week, like 17 points, 17 points, 15 points, 12 points, another 15 points. Like he's consistently above the like consistently a
Yep.
high ceiling, right? Like to me, I'm more comfortable with
I'll put
that
it this way. If he gave
over
you
over
over
that.
50 minutes, you were getting at minimum 11.9 points.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Good maths.
And And it was the
Maps.
only downside
Ooh.
is do you know what is the team? Like NOLA, I think has a better on paper team than Utah. But is that going to be the way it is? I don't know.
No,
Like
we're
it's a
we're
tough one.
making playoffs just
Uh,
like me.
Hey, Vandy.
All
Vandy,
right.
everybody makes playoffs in this participation league.
Maddie, your pick at four.
I've never made playoffs, bud.
Yeah. No, I mean the MLR teams. There's only like
Oh,
one
I
team that
talked
doesn't
about
make
this.
it
I'm like,
each
I don't know what
year.
you're talking about.
But yeah, hey,
I've
too,
never
you
got to
struggle
dance,
as well.
buddy.
Uh, man, this one's a tough one. Devon Rousseau, you got a center, you got a 10. I feel like you would love to go forward here, but I think you can kind of wait. Yeah, I think you can kind of wait. I think we got to go back three here. I'm feeling good. Let's go the first kind of or one of the international guys off the board. Oh man, let's go Isaac to Tamaki. I think Isaac to Tamaki. Let's go him at this position. We got center, we got back three, we got 10. Let's
You
get
know,
it.
it's funny for a guy that's as high on NOLA as you are. It's like it's get them all off the board here. We've went through this story before. We make the joke of me being high on the Chicago Hounds, but I feel like we're in a loop here where you're feeling
Yeah,
pretty
but
good
I've
on
never
NOLA.
seen the NOLA team look this good
That's what I said when
on
Chicago
paper.
I was
Hey,
happened.
just
but
gonna say, why am
I
I
don't know
getting?
what you were saying. That one is not the same. A Bryce Campbell and a Mark O'Keefe is not the same as having a Villamoni Karoy, Xavier Mignot, and Isaac Tutamaki with JP Duplessis and
We'll
Kelly
see. We'll
Galatier in
we'll
the back.
see. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, I was wrong. I'm not saying I was right. I completely admit it. I was wrong. I was wrong. And again, it wasn't if they were going to just be lights. I thought they were just going to be top of the league. They ended up finishing last.
Yeah,
So,
we're all aware.
yeah. Either way, I'm not bad. Pick five. Billy Meeks, Jason Robertson.
Got two tens.
Yeah, yeah, that would be horrible for this fifth. Team five. Billy Meeks ends up starting at 10. Christian Leo, like knock on wood, like that's what has me concerned is if
I'll be
Christian
all right.
Lealiifano, let's say, gets injured. Like I thought it was going to be Antichev that's coming into that deficit. It seems like it's gonna be Billy Meeks, which would
I think they'll
be
be all right.
absolutely terrible. All right, coming up here again. I think
Need some beef here.
you need some beef here. You got two of the things. I'm going to go with Frank Lahore. I think.
Hmm.
Okay. Not the
I
beef I was
think.
thinking, but that's beef.
I think having that second row, back row guy, he did really well last season. Um, there's a line there, coming up with these kind of back row guys, but
This is crazy that I think Vian Conradi is still falling.
I mean, the New England Free Jacks backroom scares me, man. Not the fact that they're not good, it's that we're just going to see a rotating carousel of who starts each and every week. And not that that's not a good thing for the New England Free Jacks. It is, keeps everyone fresh. Um, but yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Are you confident in that? Is Vian Conradi going back to the Vian Conradi that we saw before?
Oh, that's not my pick.
Oh, you're right. It is Vandy's
Vandy's got
pick.
to make that pick. Don't take another
Oh,
pick
it's
away from
me.
Vandy, Ryan.
That's true.
So what do we got? Center, fly half there. Yeah, you need some beef. We need
You
some
need some
cattle on that
beef.
team.
Get some beef.
We need some beef. You know what? I'm a man
We
of my
got the
word. I'm
beef.
still not even looking at front row here. Not a chance. Damn. Like
You
if
got
Frank
that
Lahore doesn't
beef.
get taken, take him there. It is hard to look at Conradi and see him down there and be like, what? It's a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. I mean, he
We
was
are
a
at
top
that
five.
point,
He was
though.
he
We
was
are
a top
at
five
that
pick.
point. This is the point here. We just watched Ryan. I think we called it in a forward. Conradi's going to fall. People are going to forget about him because
Yeah.
he didn't play and because this back row room. I think
Yeah.
there's the Conradis, there's the Ardejos, there's the Reichert Haddings, there is the
All
Sam
right,
Tuishulas that are
would you
falling
go
here.
Jed Holloway here, or would you go we on Conradi?
Oof, oof. I like Jed.
I was gonna say I've heard you talk a lot about Jed. I don't know.
I
I've never
like
seen this
Jed.
man play. I don't know.
I think Jed's gonna be the top second rower. end of the year as a top second rower. Again, very close. I think
Give
he's
me
going to
Jed.
be.
Give me
Let's
Jed.
go. I think he's going to be a Frank Lahore.
You know what, Matt? I will
All
give
right.
you. You are accurate a lot, except for with your top fives.
Just wait till the people see my waiver wire pickups. They're gonna be climbing over the ropes just to get to the waiver segment to hear what I have to say this year.
It is true. It is true.
True.
All right, Maddie, you're up at number 7.
I'm gonna be on a heater this year. Yeah, this team needs some beef in the back line. I mean, yeah, this team needs a guy. I think we gotta go with. I think this team's gonna go with Andrew Coe.
Mm,
That's a good pick. Very
good
good
Yeah,
pick.
pick.
yeah, this
I
team's got to
thought
go with Andrew Coe.
I was thinking about going with that pick. So I got Tim Swiel. I got Sam Gala. Um, where are the options? I can continue to keep on getting beefier. I was thinking about Andrew Coe at this spot, which I think would have been a lot of fun
That's a
to
lot of
have.
beef.
Yeah.
But I think I am going to go uh with the first pick, Manuel Ardeo in this
Oh,
one. And I think that's a nice little combination to have there. Gala
it is.
Ardeo in that forward room, which is pretty
House
nice.
of
And now it's
Cards.
picking. Now it's time to pick who I think for um, this last pick. You know what? I'm gonna go with his upside. I think he's falling late here, but yeah, I guess maybe think Xavier Mignot. Um, but I think I want to get a guy that I know will have a whole bunch of electricity from that back line, and it's going to be the first guy off the board from this team, even though they're one of the better teams in the MLR. I get it that we don't like the backs, but going to go with Davy Kutzer.
Mm,
Nice.
Maybe Kotze.
Nice. And on that turnaround, I mean, this team is just screaming, we need a center. We need a center.
So we're
And
gonna draft a second
because,
row.
yeah, I mean, hey, imagine, but we are going Thomas Kubia here with this pick for this team.
All right,
Thomas.
Thomas Kubia is the pick. Okay, coming up then at your Vandy, your pick. Who are you going?
I think you got to go back row here. That's just my thought.
So you're thinking Conradi then?
I don't know. One of them, man.
Ricky? Is he
Oh,
back?
Ricky,
Do we get Ricky on the juice or off the juice? Some
he's off the juice.
He's off the juice.
There's no way he's back on the juice.
guys are always on the juice, you know?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Different juices.
How about that new back row guy for San Diego? What do you think about him?
Yeah, I like him, so don't touch him. I like him.
More
Vandy, some
so, Brad
context.
Brad
Some
Wilkin.
some context. He played sevens too, which means he's pretty athletic.
I like an
Athletic
athletic
little
Brad
bugger.
back row. We're going Brad Wilkin. Boom, lock it.
Brad Wilkin. So it's a team now of Wayne Vanderbank, Cliven Laubser, Jed Holloway, Brad Wilkin. All right. I guess I'm
Nice
up.
little squad.
Billy Meeks, Jason Roberts. It's just because it has all the guys you like, Maddie. That's why you like
You
that one.
also need a back row in this one, right?
Yes, and I think the time has come for that to happen, and that is Vian Conradi is
Mm,
getting picked at this pick here. So Billy
smart.
Meeks, Jason Robertson, Frank Lahore, Vian Conradi. All right, Maddie, you're up here. Devon Rousseau,
Ooh.
Santiago Videla, Isaac Tutamaki, and now a fourth pick.
Hey, we got all the backs pretty much figured out here. No 10, no 9. Screw them. It's fine. It's time for some beef here on this one. It's time to get some beef here and a little bit of juice in this house
I'm
right
right.
here.
I'm typing it already.
We got to get some Riker hatting here. Get some needles in the butt
Yeah.
and let's go.
All right, Devon Rousseau, Santiago Videla, Isaac Tutamaki, Riekert Hadding. Good squad there. Is there any concern? I guess this is a good time to bring that up in terms of combining guys on the same squad. If it's a good team, you're okay with it. I think that's my
Yeah,
thought on it.
yeah. Well, hold on. It's not just a good team. I think if it's a high-powered offense, I'm okay with it. If it's Houston, I'm not stacking Houston players.
Hmm,
Not a chance.
interesting.
The only players I'm stacking are maybe the hooker position, maybe the forwards, but like there's no point in me getting multiple backs from there. They're gonna do
Yeah.
absolutely nothing.
Understood. All right, Vandy, you're up. Joel Hodgson, Vogan Isaacs, Dylan Nell. Who are
Good
you
squad. Good
going in?
squad.
Yeah,
Good
that's
squad,
not a bad
Vandy.
little squad.
Pretty
Kind of
good
needs a
squad.
center though.
Does need a center.
Kind of really needs a center.
It's
Kind of
crazy. Not a
really.
nine. Not a nine off the board yet.
Yeah. So different options. Again, you got a lot of Utah guys on this one. Team Vandy here at number three. Joel Hodgson, Vogan Isaacs, Dylan Nell. Um, it has been three back row players in a row. Don't necessarily
On
need
the
a back row
trend,
player because you have already a Dylan Nell.
but you
Um,
could.
What you could.
some top
But you could.
backs that are
Hey, there's
available.
Ali Devoto still out there.
You got Xavier Mignot,
Oh,
Jade
you like.
Steigling,
Jan Lutz.
Tion Lutz.
You know, I'm not loving much of it.
Yeah, this is
Give me
kind of
something
where
on
we
this Ollie
see.
Devoto guy.
Hey, he's going to be the starting center for Chicago, and he looks good.
Give me
He looks
Ollie
good.
DeVito. Tommy DeVito's younger brother, Ollie.
Yeah.
Ollie Devoto. Pretty
Ali
solid there.
Devoto.
Hodgson's, Vogan Isaacs, Dylan L, Ollie Devoto. All right. I'm up here. I got Jason
Oh,
Potros, Dan Creel, Kellen Galatier. So I got
Don.
my fly half,
Don Creel.
center,
Don.
and is that what I
Hammer
said?
Don
Is that
Creel.
what I said? Is that what I said? The Don? Maybe call him the Don. Dan the Don Creel.
Oh, you
Dan
said
the
Dan like with the
Don.
Canadian accent. Don.
Don, Kellen Galatier. So fly half, center, back row. Um, I think I really want that explosive back three player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Who you
already have
got?
Dan Creel. I'm gonna go. See now, I feel like I'm hopping on the train with yours, but let's. You know what? I'm gonna go with this. It scares me because they do have a big room, but I'm gonna go Jade Styling. I think what he did last year was pretty
That's
impressive.
crazy.
Um, why? Who's a guy that snuck down to you?
Villamoni, Croy, Xavier Mignot. Both of those
Yes, but
guys.
you have this hard on for these NOLA guys that is you
They're
love
going to
them.
score points. They're going to score
They
points. That's
scored
all I
points
can say.
last year.
They're going to score points.
We'll see. So pair them
They're
up.
a
Get all
different
three of
team.
them. Get that whole back line.
Nah, I don't need to. I don't need to here. We got back row, we got back three, we got center, we got the beefy boys set up. Time to get into fill out some of those other positions here. I think it's time. Um, yeah, I feel like you're gonna want to lock. Well, so here's the thing. I was thinking second row, but I think you can like Jason Dom, Sam Carrot, Federico Gutierrez, Hamish Bain, Gavin Thornberry, these guys that I have on there, I think you can wait on them. Like I think you can wait. I think there's some time here. Uh
I agree.
oh
I
man.
think personally here, while you're thinking, Matt, I think the only second row, the drop off after Sam Gola, Frank Lahore, and Jed Holloway, like I am that no other second row to me. There you can argue a case for Jason Dahm, especially after seeing him line up at the lock position, not the back row position in the game against Fiji and Drua,
Yeah. Yeah.
which kind of proves me wrong. But
I think I got it here. At this spot here, you got a long time for your next pick after this turnaround. I think from our history has said the fifth, sixth round is where these nines start coming off the board. And it's where these hookers start coming off the board. I mean, we've seen hookers go a lot earlier. These front rowers go a lot earlier. We're going to go with the powerhouse trio. We're going to go Pita and Neasu for the first pick. And we're going to go Gonzalo Betranu for that second pick. Lock out those five positions. You're feeling pretty good.
wow,
That's a solid team right
wow,
there.
Mm.
wow. I mean, there's two schools of thought, right? It's just like your point production. You're sacrificing a lot of point production there for having the advantage at those positions. Not to say that either way, it's going to be interesting to see if you go this route. It's like how big of an advantage do you get for having guys like Pita Aneasu and Gonzalo Bertranu versus maybe giving up some guys that are at more point productive positions. But I mean, it could
Here's the
definitely
big
pay
one with
off.
this one with Team One. you are hoping that a Luke Carty comes around after you're waiting because there is not much. You got an Eddie Fouché, you got Rodney Iona, you got Luke Carty, and I'm trying to think who else. I don't think there's much else
Yeah.
at this point. That's all you got left. So you got to be feeling pretty good and pretty nervous about what's coming in between.
We're gonna go with a big name on the board here. Already has a back three player, doesn't have a second row again. I'm gonna go with the same theme of if you're not getting those top three guys, I'm really punting on that position. I'm gonna go Xavier McNote here. So you got Jade
Yeah.
Styling as the back three player. You put Xavier McNote as that explosive back flex. You should be feeling pretty solid there. Vandy, you're
Hey,
up.
Real
also,
nicey.
Vanny, while you're thinking here, also the other thing that you got to look at when you're doing these mock drafts, you got to remember what other teams have filled their needs, right? So as I'm thinking through that, every other team has a 10. You're feeling pretty confident that a 10 is going to come back around your way.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Good point. All right, Matt. Vandy, Joel Hodgson, Vogan Isaacs, Dylan Nell, Ollie DeVoto got
So you
center,
get
back
fly, you
row,
get back, you get
back
your
three, and
second.
fly
Or
half.
that's not a bad looking squad.
No,
That's a
no, not
solid squad there.
not too bad. Not too bad. You do need you need
We need a second row there though. We're kind of in the
second
same.
row, front rows, position you don't have,
You know what?
scrum half,
There,
obviously.
there, I'd be okay taking a shot at Jason Dam. Fifth round, sixth round,
Damn.
or fifth round.
Yeah, no,
Damn.
I agree. I think I would have been more cautious on that pick had I not seen Dom line up at the second row position in that exhibition match, but he did. I think he was pretty good. Again, he's going to tiptoe that line between back row and second row eligibility, but if he keeps that second row eligibility, he's going to be very, very good for you. All
Telling
right,
you,
five
don't
more
sleep
picks
on these
left.
new second rowers.
Devon Rousseau, Santiago Videla, Isaac Tutamaki, Riekert Hatting. That's a pretty solid team there. Maddie, who are
That's a
you
pretty
picking with the
solid
final
team.
pick of this team for?
Oof. Uh, yeah, final pick of this team for man, you're feeling like you got to fill up that. I feel like that hooker position at this point. Like, think you got to take on Andrew Quatrick. You got to go Q here. Yeah,
That's a
you got
big
to
one.
go Q here.
Does it at all, you think Q is going to have, do you think the production gets impacted in any shape or form with the addition of Connell McInerney?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'd actually, do you know what? I'll scratch the Q. I'll actually go Telfetti here. I actually like him better. I think that's a solid point. I also have Telfetti ranked higher. I think he has more opportunity. The only reason that I didn't go Telfetti on that team number one is, you know, I think Anea Sue is a nice little balance as a bit of a staple with some of those other guys.
And I mean, in all fairness, for my front row position, um, I mean, you have Pita Anayasu right up there. I think it's really swaps between Tofetti and Pita Anayasu for
Yep,
you. For me, he's dropped this far. I'm going to pick him here for a team that needs a back three player. I'm going with Villamoni Karoy here to round out my
let's
squad of
go.
Billy Meeks, Jason Robertson, Frank Lahore, Vian Conradi, and Villamoni Karoy. That's actually a pretty solid team.
Yeah, that is.
Pretty good team.
That's
All right,
no.
Vandy, you're up. Wayne Vanderbank, Cliven Laubser, Jed Holloway, Brad Wilkin on the board here for you.
Oh man, back three for sure.
Yeah, right. Gotta be.
So options at the back three position on our draft kit here.
Roy just
Um,
wins.
Van, you go your
Joe
boy.
Joe Mono, you can go see if he comes
No, not
back
him.
here. Jordan Trainer, a guy that's brand new to Utah, coming in there as well. Going to be
Ooh.
interesting. Um, Reese McDonald, I think, is going to keep on dropping just because I don't think it's going to be this early that I take him. He's not showing up until what round, Matt? I think not until like round six, maybe. Was it that I
Yeah, I
heard?
think well, it's
Later in the
March,
season.
so he's not
You know
coming
what? Give
back
me
till
Jordan
March. So
Trainer.
that's
Let's
at
go.
least
Jordan Trainer.
6 weeks. Yeah,
All
Jordan
right.
Trainer. I like that. I think he's going to be
Jordan.
very much like Caleb McEnany, Vandy.
I think he'll get a lot of meters.
Yeah,
There you go. So Jordan Trainer off the board here for Vandy. That leads to your last pick, Matt, for Team 7 that has Christian Lealifano, Jonah Moe, Andrew Coe, and Thomas Kubia.
oh, what are we missing here? Not much, are we? Um, oh, I think we got to go with one of the new boys. I'm going to go with Sam Carrick. I think Sam Carrick's going to be a defensive stalwart on this New England Free Jacks team in that second row position. He's going to add some add some good tackle points to this team.
All right. And to round it out for me with Team 8 that has Tim Sweel, Sam Gala, Manuel Ardeo, Davy Kutzer, I think you need that center position. Give me Tian Lutz. I
Yep.
think that's a pretty solid pick to round out our team. All right. What's your
See the
favorite
mo.
favorite team there that we got through?
I like one or two.
One or two? Okay.
Yeah, I like one.
You like one. Honestly, guys, I'm not a big
Mm,
fan. I'm not a big fan of the early front row scrum half stack. I think you lose a lot of points
mm.
there. Um,
To what?
so the way that I think is that at the end of the year, your front
Yep.
row and scrum half position are going to score you no more than 120 points, and that's at the top level, right? So you're giving up. I'm not. I would go. I've gone one of them, like front row or scrum half, but I think you're missing out on a lot of points that you would have gotten um, at even at a forward flex or a back flex there to slot in over having a guy like maybe Gonzalo or Pita and Asu. But
Yeah, but then what if you lose 20 points by waiting till the next front rower?
it's true. Again,
What if you
it's
lose 20 points for the nine? And also, at that team, you're feeling pretty good because you're gaining 60 points by drafting Semi Kunatani over the next position
it's
in
true.
back
It's
row.
true. You have the flexibility to do that because you have a marquee guy. Yeah, I honestly, I'm a big fan of yeah, I have to say either team two. I do like that team seven is pretty solid. I do like team eight as well. I think that's pretty
I
good
picked all
too.
the teams
But
that you picked.
Give me
Those are
team
mine.
six,
you
baby.
pick team seven. It's all good. All good. Yeah, team seven's team six is pretty solid too. I like the Clive and Laubser pick. I he has a special place in my heart with that with how they did last year. All right.
Hey, my learning
Special
from
place in
this
my heart.
drafting is going to be hard.
Draft
You're going to
day is
get
gonna be
there.
hard.
You're going to be nervous. You're going to make bad decisions. You're just going to have to live with it. It is what it is. There's no takesies, backsies in the draft. You just go with the flow. Sometimes you accidentally draft three nines from the same team, hoping one of them starts and one of them ends up being a winger slash scrum half. You know what I mean?
And I
Yeah.
do think
Pause for
a majority of our leagues too will be doing a slow draft. So that does take a little bit of the angst off of it. You can kind of think through these picks a little bit more than
Not us.
in a half an hour time that we did or 45-minute time of doing this mock draft. Either way, fun little exercise to do. A little bit of practice here on top of Maddie's sticky notes, film that he's been doing, and now a mock
Lots of
draft to add
film.
to the books. Drafts
We'll,
start
lots of
next week.
film.
Going to be fun. But before those drafts begin on Monday, we do have some special matches this coming weekend, even in a couple days. That's going to kick off the second part of one of our favorite challenges.
fired up for
TFR
this.
Betting Challenge.
All right. This is the TFR Betting Challenge. It is back. Vandy and myself go head to head with a little
Well,
bit
not
of
really.
insight. With a
Man, he
little
goes
bit of
way above your
insight
head.
That's
with
right.
that, we don't need to talk about that, or we'll touch on it. With a little bit of insight from the rugby guru himself, Maddie, who knows everything overseas, did not too bad with the Bunnings NPC. We move on to the Six Nations that kicks off this week, and then we'll roll right in to the MLR betting that will begin in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, we'll quickly gloss over it. Vandy did pretty good in our first round of the betting challenge with the Bunnings NPC, with
Trust
some
you.
top 14 games, with
You're
some of the
bankrupt.
Premiership. I will say, I do still have my $2 futures play
Yeah,
in the books right now. Plus 900 odds for Toulon to win the top 14.
I'm pretty sure.
They're right now in third place, only 3 points behind the top team. So there's still a chance for Toulon to do what they need to do to win me some money and get back in the
Okay.
loop. But first overall though, Maddie, hey, we got some games this week.
Six Nations.
Six Nations is back. Fun to see. And
I think the
we got
documentary came out
full games.
today.
Got the Wales quarter zip on. I'm in no way, shape, or form a Wales fan, but I thought I'd wear it in terms of the Six Nations celebration that we're having this one. Maddie, in terms of the odds, we got three games. We got Wales and France on Friday, Italy, Scotland on Saturday, England, Ireland later on Saturday.
Stay away
We'll
from the last one.
start with the Wales and France game. What do you think the spread is?
Stay away from the last one. Spread's got to be 14 and a half.
The spread is France is favored as 25.5-point favorites.
Yeah, hammer that.
What?
Hammer that.
France will beat Wales by
Hammer
25
that.
and a half?
Wales is a mess.
Okay.
Hammer that.
And that's why I'm not a fan. All right. 20,
Buddy, I'm a
25,
mess.
25.5 points.
25 and a half, Ryan. Yeah,
All
Wales
right.
is a mess.
All
Wales is
right.
a dumpster fire right now.
All right.
And they got a new
Italy.
coach. It's a dumpster fire.
All right. Italy and Scotland comes up on Saturday. What's the line here, Maddie?
21.
19.5. Pretty good.
That
Scotland
was
favored
close.
by 19.5 points. Anything there?
Yeah, honestly, I kind of want to hit Italy as the dogs to cover.
All right. All right.
Kind of like Italy as the dogs to cover.
Italy at 19.5. And then lastly here, England, Ireland. You're saying stay away. What do you think the
Stay
line
away.
is?
That spread is like it's got to be the spread's got to be what 3 points.
Who do you think's favorites?
Ireland
Okay. And you think by 3 points?
by 3 points.
7.5 is
No
the line
way.
right here.
Hit
Minus
England.
England plus 7.5?
England the dogs.
All right.
England the dogs. The dogs are barking
Maddie.
this weekend.
Maddie's got the 2 dogs
Is
there.
that a
Italy.
dog or is that a monkey?
This is a monkey, Vanny.
Sounded
This is
pretty
a
close
dog.
to your dog, bro.
All right, so England underdogs at 7.5, Italy underdogs 19.5, and then favorites for France 25.5. You feeling good, Maddie? Huh? You got the giggles.
Yeah, I got those. You know what I was thinking of when people tweet like when something's got them barking at the TV, and I'm just like, I laugh just because I think about it.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
there's Matt
again,
over
this
there.
is the TFR betting challenge that we're revamping for the second round, brought to you by Betstamp. Betstamp betting
Ooh, how
made
many times
easy.
can Ryan lose?
You will be able to find all the sports books that are available in your area by using the link down below. We're going to continue our challenge. Vandy, what are we agreeing to here? We're going to kick off with some Six Nations. Super Rugby starts in 2 weeks' time. MLR starts in 2 weeks' time. We going back into the pot for $50. We'll actually have a loser this time.
Just let me hold on before you do this. Just let me know
Wait. We
when
didn't have a
Super
loser
Rugby
the first time?
when Super Rugby hits, I'm gonna be on my game.
All right. Mark it.
Book it.
When MLR hits, I'm going to be on my game. Is what's
I
gonna
don't
be
know
the
about
case.
that.
Yeah,
I
well,
will. I don't know about you.
All right. Well,
I already
either
paid
way.
off the ref, so Utah in, Shield in, Venmo's in,
There you go.
Andy
All
Reid
right.
just
Well,
covered it for you.
Script in.
I know the episode ran a little long. Mock draft was fun, but again, you've gotten the advice from
Little.
Maddie for the TFR betting challenge. France favorites, Italy underdogs, England underdogs. We'll see what Vandy and I play. We'll have a post coming out this week, and it begins the betting challenge in terms of who's going to take this down. Vandy, don't give me that look. You're scaring me, man. You already kicked my butt last round.
Burn it down,
But
boy.
it's time to start fresh. Boys, any other last words that you have for the people before they start their drafts?
Hey, don't be nervous. Get ready. It's about to start. It's a start of a wild ride here, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Don't take it too serious. I mean, if you played football, it's very similar to football where the waivers are massive. Early waivers are big. You can't win the season off the draft, but you can lose it, but don't lose it. Win it.
All right. Well, for Matt Yee, for Devin, Vandy Vanderpool, I'm Ryan Yee, and we'll be back next week with another episode of the Fantasy Ruckers Show.
Chiefs are cheats.
You've been listening to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, covering everything rugby from the MLR and beyond. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to tell all your friends. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, connect with us on social media at the Fantasy Ruckers. Till next time, this is the Fantasy Ruckers Show, signing off.